Hello there, I hope you're well. I am going to put on a couple of videos to talk to you about some of the ways that I use the sand tray. Okay, so this is my sand tray. It's just a plastic box with nice clippy handles so it stays shut. It was pretty inexpensive. You can get really fancy ones that are quite, sort of designed to be a sandbox. This is just designed, I think, probably for documents. And it's just about probably a little bit bigger than A4. And then inside I've got nice white soft play sand, not construction sand, because I think that can be quite sort of sharp and it's not like this. It's not all sort of silky like this. This is very soft and very sort of pale, and the grains are really fine. Okay, it's so nice playing with sand. I think we do it a lot, don't we? When many of us do play with sand quite a lot when we're children, and then we don't play with it as much when we're adults. And I think it's a shame because it's lovely. It's so cold and so nice. So I'm going to talk to you about one of the ways I use sand tray, and I'm talking to you about this and my next video with the sand tray are probably my two main ways that I use sand tray, but I might add more techniques in the future. So whenever I've got a client, not whenever, but because sometimes I don't, and we go where the work goes and it doesn't come up, but on occasion I've got a client who is talking a lot about who am I, what is my identity, what makes me tick, what makes me me, what do I want to do, what are my passions, like who am I questions. And it seems to be quite a sort of a theme that comes up quite a lot in the work. Okay, and it maybe feels like we're jostling with it a bit, hitting maybe a bit of a wall. Now there's always options when you're a therapist, isn't there? Because we could just say to the client, okay, we're hitting a wall, aren't we? We're going, you noticed, we're talking about similar things a lot. How are we? How are you? How do you feel about how things are in this room, in the therapy? And just look at the stuckness head on, and you totally can do that, and of course that's very powerful as well. But what I sometimes do is, especially if I know I've got a creative soul, a creative client who is interested in different ways of working, I say, would you like to explore this theme a little bit using the sand tray? And I've never known anybody say, oh no, I don't want to do that. They always seem to be really sort of open to it. Doing infinity sign now like that. So I get the sand out and I say, this is you. This is you. This is the entirety of you, this tray. So this sand represents the whole of you. Okay. And I'm sort of like, it's all, like it's not a grave. It's not all right. It said, this is the whole of you. Okay, so we can let's lean in with an open heart. Let's keep the feeling, for me, this is important, keep the feeling informal, otherwise somebody will be like, I'm not, I want it to be free flowing and kind of enjoyable, though some of the stuff that comes up from it might be more serious. So I say, this is the whole of you, and now I've got this tray of objects. See this tray of objects? I've been accumulating these for years, okay? I try and keep them small so they fit in this tray, but can you see the tray is quite full, so I might need more storage. But I've got all sorts, I've got a little glass bowl that I got from a charity shop. A lot of this stuff's from a charity shop. A little thimble, little figures. See, there's like an older man there with a hat. Driftwood, a little wooden bottle that I got from a charity shop. A bridge, these bridges get quite a bit of use. Little spoon. What else gets quite a bit of use? The figures definitely get a lot of use. This tiny little bear gets a lot. I don't want to cover up his face. This tiny little bear gets quite a lot of use. These ladders seem to get quite a lot of use. And then I've got lots of stuff like crystals, lots of animals. I've even got things like little boats. Can you see that little boat there? That sometimes gets used. I've got little bottles of wine. All sorts of different bits. And there's no... I don't think there's any right or wrong, but I do find that my figures get a lot of use and my animals get a lot of use, and so do my crystals. And I know that there's therapists that accumulate loads and loads and loads of stuff, and I kind of appreciate that, you know, but it's up to you what you decide to do. I'm trying to keep this to, you know, sort of, I'm trying to restrict my collection. But I also kind of like the idea of having sort of shelves everywhere with stuff on. But then you'd have to think maybe about the room feeling quite overwhelming, you know, because there's stuff everywhere. So this is my selection. And I keep my eyes peeled when I'm in charity shops. And I grab things that turn up, you know, things that turn up that I think might, you know, complement what I've got. So, oh, sorry, also in this little box I've got figures. You know, like railway figures. They're just people sat down, people stood up. I think they're so exciting, but I don't think these get a lot of use, really. Maybe it's because people don't know that they're in the box. Okay, so I say this is the whole of you. Would you like to just take a bit of time to use any objects that feel relevant and you feel drawn to when it comes to you and what makes up you, the parts of you, yeah? So the client, okay, we're in no rush. We're not going to start this task at the end of the session, yeah? We've got plenty of time. So you just sit and you just chill, yeah? And I've known myself in the past with clients that might feel really conscious of me being there and just waiting. I've said, is it all right if I doodle? And I just get a pad out and I doodle, so that then I'm engaged, I'm occupied, and they're busy as well. And they don't feel as much that I'm sat there like, oh, come on now. Which I think has been really useful for some clients. Anyway, so they go through and they pick any objects that they might feel drawn to and they put them in the sand. Okay. Yeah, okay. So they keep, and take as long as you need, you know, we're not in any rush. Quite a lot of objects you can have a little route through, you know. Okay. And so your client creates a tray of objects like this, yeah? And the one thing that's really important is we're not reading into this as a therapist. We're not making any assumptions about these objects, like, oh, bare, cuddly, soft, comforting. It might feel like that to us, but it might not be that way to your client. So be careful of the words that come out of your mouth when you are talking to your client about this tray of objects. So I usually start the conversation with, do you want to talk me through your choices? Yeah. And the client does. And even though I'm doing this for a video for you, there'll be significance behind these objects, probably, even though I've picked them seemingly arbitrarily, because you can't, the idea is that nothing's by accident, so all these will be significant to me for some reason or another. So they might go through, oh yeah, this one reminds me of the bridge that I want to go from one place to another when it comes to my job, for example. This teddy is, for me, my softer side. This spoon is empty because sometimes I feel like I've not got loads left. And whatever comes up, and this is the raw side of me, the you know, the tempestuous side that's very occasionally comes out, and whatever comes out of the work there. Okay, now you've taught me through these, client. Do you feel like there's anything that you'd need to change? Anything you want to add? Any movement you want to make in the pieces, you know, in the objects you've chosen? Any marks you want to make in the sand that feel relevant? Because it might sound silly, but the client might not know that they can do this. It's obvious they can on some level, but it might not be to them in this moment. I think we need to tap into how self-conscious and, you know, sort of maybe anxious a client might feel when they're embarking on something like this. So I invite them, do you want to make any marks in the sand? Do you want to make any changes? And they might say, actually, yeah, I want to put, do they feel like they're in the right place? I want to put that there, I want to put that there, and I want to put a mark here. Would you like to say a little bit about that line you've just made? Would you like to say a little bit about that movement you've just made, moving that object over there? And you can notice things as a therapist. I noticed that this crystal is in the corner and it's a little bit submerged. Was that on purpose? I've noticed this was a little bit submerged. I noticed that it seems to be away from all the other objects. Can you see we're very tentative? We're observing and noticing. We're not analysing, and it's very gentle. Now, you can carry this on. There's quite a lot of options, because you can then talk about what do you wish was in the tray when it comes to the parts that make up you. What changes do you wish you could make to the parts that make up you? And you might find that they add more to it, or they might move something away, yeah? I'm noticing that you've moved that to there. Can you talk to me about that move? I'm noticing you've added this. What did that mean to you? And it's a very tentative way of exploring parts of self, especially when it feels like what the client's thinking about themselves does not feel very clear to them, or feels like something they're struggling to articulate. This can be very, very useful. And you can really carry it on. You can say, is there any parts you take away? Yeah. Is there anything that you wish you could have more of, less of? Feel what's going on in the room. Feel what's happening. You know, does your client grab something and just stuff it like that into the sand, yeah? Or do they get something really beautifully and delicately and place it in with a little bit of care and notice it? You place it, you know, when they're finished, because I don't like to break them off until they're finished. But I notice when you put this one in, you put it in with loads and loads of care. And notice when you put this one in, you put it in angrily and you forced it into the sand. What was going on for you in that moment? Yeah. So that is one of the ways I use sand tray to explore the parts of self. Please do like this video, and please make a comment, even if it's just thank you, or I found that interesting, or whatever. Comments are good for people finding my channel, you see. And then if you can subscribe and also invite friends to join us, that would be good too. All right, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you soon. All right, bye.